Have you ever been in a sales pitch where the vendor is nodding, smiling, and literally saying yes to everything? Yes, we can integrate with your legacy system. Yes, we deliver by year end. Yes, we're flexible on pricing. It feels great, like you found the perfect partner. Here's the ugly truth. If you take what the vendor says on face value, it often comes back to bite you later on. Don't get me wrong. Vendors are usually not blatantly lying, but what they often do is conveniently miss out important details that might otherwise have made them look less appealing. In this video, you'll learn about 6 common things that IT vendors will often say to you and what you can do to protect yourself. It will save you time, money, wasted effort, and your sanity. Let's dive in. The first lie that vendors tell you is the anything is possible lie. This happens when a vendor enthusiastically agrees to every single feature, customization, or timeline request you have, usually without much hesitation. It sounds like the vendor is very flexible and gives great customer service, but it's actually a massive red flag. What's really happening is that the vendor is trying to secure the contract first and then work on the details later on. They know that once you've signed, it's much harder for you to walk away. Any difficult requests will just become expensive change orders down the line. So here's the solution. Don't just accept their yes. Ask them to walk you through a real-world scenario or schedule a detailed demo. Make sure this isn't just the standard sales demo, but one that uses realistic data and reflects what you're trying to achieve in your own organization. Understand the technicalities of what it would take beyond the sales pitch and validate what's actually possible. You might ask for a trial period so that you can explore and do further analysis. It's a good idea to have a technically qualified person on your team for these reviews. The second lie that vendors tell you is the A-team lie. Is the classic bait and switch. The vendor brings their most knowledgeable and experienced staff to do all the pitching. They answer all your questions with confidence and do a great job convincing you to sign the contract. And then on kickoff day, those experts are nowhere to be found. You were sold the A-team, but you've been given the B-team, or worse still, the C-team. Senior talent is scarce. And what usually happens is that those involved in pitching for business for the vendor are not the same as those doing the project delivery. This might be okay in some situations, but not in others, where too many inexperienced staff can jeopardize a project or at least slow things down. The solution to this is to ask for particular individuals to be on the project team and to include that as part of the agreement with the vendor. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 5 days a week commitment, but it's a way of securing their expertise and having them oversee the work of the delivery team. Another approach is to be specific about the caliber of expertise on a vendor's project team. This might include, for example, an implementation specialist with at least 10 years experience in financial technology projects. Lie number 3, the low quote lie. This is when a vendor deliberately provides a low price in their quotation. Vendors know that many clients are obligated to get at least 3 quotations as part of their procurement policy and to select the lowest bidder. This is not something that I necessarily agree with, as vendor selection should be a lot more than just price, but it is a policy in many organizations. This is the foot in the door tactic. The low quotation is just to win the business and secure the contract. Once the project starts, the extras begin. Onboarding fees, software license fees, out-of-scope charges for things you thought were included. In short, the project ends up costing you a lot more than the initial quotation. The solution here is to ask the vendor for a full financial breakdown of the quotation and all the associated cost items. Ensure that it matches up with your project requirements. You'll need to scrutinize the breakdown in some detail. Also ask for rate cards and about incidental fees such as travel costs for vendor visits so that you can at least budget these into your project as needed. You can also ask the vendor for a quote that includes everything: licenses, customizations, setup, training, the full works. That way, your vendor will be discouraged from giving a lowball quotation. Lie number 4, the expiring offer lie. This one's a classic sales tactic based around the psychology of FOMO, or the fear of missing out. The vendor gives you a discount or makes you some kind of special offer, but it's only valid if you sign up by the end of the month or some other arbitrary deadline, after which the price could go up. What the vendor is really doing is creating a sense urgency to rush your decision. They don't want you to have time to think too much or get a competing offer from another vendor. The solution is simple. Stay calm and don't fall for it. Realize that this is just a tactic to get you signed up as quickly as possible. Reputable vendors appreciate that organizations don't rush decisions, particularly ones that involve significant cost and investment. Lie number 5, the 99.9% uptime lie. You'll often hear this one in relation to software as a service. 99.9% sounds phenomenal, doesn't it? Well, perhaps not. The remaining 0.1% actually equates to about 1/3 of a day per year, or about 8 hours. And vendors usually exclude scheduled maintenance windows from the calculation. So in reality, the actual uptime might not be as great as you think. And this might be problematic if your business is meant to be running 24/7. The solution here is to check what SLAs or service level agreements the vendor is committing to in the contract. Does it include maintenance windows, and how much advance notice, if any, will you be given? Importantly, ensure there are stated recovery time objectives, so if the service does go down, there is a committed time to recover the service. And what about compensation? In the event that the SLAs are not met by the vendor, it's really up to you to negotiate a discount, credit, or some other value add. Consider adding exit clauses to allow you to terminate the agreement with the vendor if SLAs are not met. That gives you the option to switch vendors in case things don't work out. Lie number 6, the cancel anytime lie. Yes, you can cancel, but there are caveats that your vendor doesn't want you to know about. Cancellations are rarely immediate. They usually won't take place until the end of the current billing cycle. You'll also need to give sufficient notice. 3 to 6 months is not uncommon. The solution here is to check the fine print. Ascertain when cancellations actually take effect and what the notice period is. Be aware of auto-renewal clauses, where a contract is effectively a rolling contract and where you might be subject to any price increases. You might be able to lock in a price for a period of time and also limit those price increases. That's something to negotiate with the vendor. Importantly, understand how you can migrate any data from the current vendor to a new one in the event of an exit. So there you have it, 6 lies that your vendor might be telling you. Remember, don't take what your vendor says on face value. Ask the right questions so that you get the information you need in order to make the decisions that is best for you and your organization. Now, did I miss any other vendor lies? If so, add them to the comments below. And here are some other videos on vendor management that you might find useful.